Hi, my friend. It is like Dresden happiness here. I'm Pat Sloan, and I want to talk a little bit about these Dresden plate table toppers that are from the Fat Quarter Shop video tutorial. It's like a class in a video. They did such a great job with that video. I just felt like, you know, they don't have a pattern. There's no pattern. You just follow the video, but Kimberly takes you through every single little thing. What I want to do is kind of add to that, add a little bit of my sort of background with these plates. I used to teach this way back in the day, maybe 25 years ago. I had classes locally, and I taught these like at Ben Franklin and the quilt shop, and so I have a lot of experience with sewing them, but it's been a long time. But I have a few little things I want to share. Plus I have a mail call and a food thing first. Okay, so mail call. This is from Janice. She sent me a lot of really awesome cuts of fabric for the edges. Now, she told me that she was going through her fabric and taking like anything less than 1/4 of a yard, I think, and she was cutting it up into usable pieces for a scrap system so that she could make scrap quilts and just have things cut already into 2.5-inch squares, 5-inch squares, that kind of a thing. So she sent me this, but she realized, some of these were quite old, and she came across one that was it's really fun. It's really fun. I'm like so happy that she sent me a piece of it. She got it in, she said, probably a thrift bag, and the edge is from 1953. Look at this. Isn't that cool? Now I have to send this to David, who is the president of Benartex, and ask him if he is familiar with that company and ever heard of Laura Jean Allen of Associated American Artists. But it has a train. See upside down? So I'm going to have to see if Janice will send me a picture of some of the rest of the fabric, because she said she was cutting it up and all of a sudden realized on the salvage how old it was. And so that's so sweet. Thank you, Janice. Mwah. That is so nice of you to share it with me. This is a treasured piece. It'll have to go in a special baggie with all of this stuff so I don't lose it. I have to have the treasured ones. Okay, before I did this video, I had to stop at the grocery store, and they had in, this is my food chat, they had in the caramel apples. And I know there's all kinds of different caramel apples out there, but it's kind of like my tradition that I will get one. It's the first time I see them. And apparently they've probably been in there a while, but this is the first time I noticed them. And I like the caramel ones. I don't like the red ones. Sometimes the apples aren't so great in them, but I eat the caramel and the nuts. A little bit of apple. Okay, let's take a look at the Dresdens, because one of the first things is when you're planning your Dresden, that's where I want you to take a look really closely. I'm going to take a few of them off the wall and bring them over here, and then we'll pop over to the other side of the table and I'll talk a little bit about the tools. So first, you'll notice on this one, which is from the Starlight Gatherings, look at the way the coloration is. There's just two colors, right? Navy and white. But they really have a very distinct separation. They look a lot different than ones that have a lot of different colors. So if you want to do just a 2-color, it has a different vibe than one like this, which is, I think, yeah, this one is from the Happy Days Jolly Bar. So you can tell, see how different they look? This has just got a whole different vibe to it with the colorations. And this has just got all the different fabrics in it. So they have a really different look. Now, another thing that I've noticed, a lot of these, this is one Fig Tree's favorites. This is from Fig Tree's Favorites. Is that a way to do this? There's 12 petals on here. And so if you want to be organized, you can do like this one was done by Teresa. There's red, red, aqua, aqua, yellow, yellow, orange, orange, green, green, gray, gray. So they're just opposites. And depending on the fabric line, that can be you know, really distinct, or like this one, I think it's barely noticeable because the colors are soft and they don't really have a high contrast. But look at this one here. This one was done the same way. The colors are opposite, but it has a whole different sort of punch to it because you can really see how that red pops out, that navy pops out, so that it gives you those units. Now these are done, oops, this is a little bit different. I'm sorry. This is done with 3. 3, 3, 3, 3, 3, 3, 3, 3, 3, not just the 2. So that's 3 and 3s instead of 2s. There was another one that had 2s. Okay, it's this one. I knew it was one of the navy, the red, white, and blue. I knew it was a red, white, and blue. Okay, so here's where the reds, but now they're doubled, like 2 reds, 2 blues, and then the whites make an X. So there's a wide variety of ways how you lay out your fabric actually gives you sort of an alternate look to this Dresden top, which I think is super fun. Here's another one where they just, this one was just done with, you know, the colors in the fabric line, but it's a very soft fabric line. This one is new. Wait, so I'm getting the Jolly Bar. It's called Love Notes. It's so pretty. Let's go to the other side of the table a minute. These are made with the Jolly Bar, which is a pre-cut from the Fat Quarter Shop. It's half of a layer cake, 5 by 10. And so each of these petals come from 1 layer cake. So there you go. They fit on there. And we have a ruler to do that with. So they're a perfect size for this. They take 12 pieces out of the Jolly Bar, and that means you can get 3 of these table toppers from the Jolly Bar, plus you'll have a couple extra pieces. So if you have some fabric that's similar, you could add in, I think you get 6, you need 6 more fabrics, and you could then get 4 table toppers if you add some of your fabric that you already own. You get something that coordinates and do one of the table toppers that has some of that included in it, or included in all 4 of them. A lot of not every line has one of these. Fat Quarter Shop decides, you know, what they want to make. So they have, like, here's the little sheep, the one that has the centerpiece on. Okay, so what I'm going to do is show you this one, which I don't have a topper from because this is a Jolly Bar that I've had a little while, and I know that they still have this fabric out there, and it's a really great line. So let's take a look at we're just going to open this up. And if I was going to do 3, I would want to, you know, put each of these, make 3 stacks so that they are nicely sorted by color. Also, you get a free pattern with every one of these pre-cuts. Like, here's the free pattern for this one that shows you how to use the pre-cut with the pattern. Okay, so if I've got all these, got some tans, there's light purples and dark purples and green, and then kind of this brown. So I think that's pretty much, yeah, so that's pretty much what the whole line is. So I would want to have, you know, 3 piles. Oops, there's a dark purple. But if I would want to have 3 piles, they would all have a light, you know, like this, and then I would just keep going through. A light. So another light. Whoa. Let me just grab this over here. Okay. So another light, and if I was going to be doing like the dark purples, a dark purple, and then just get another dark purple here. So I would sort them into 3 stacks of 12 so that there's a variety of fabric. And then I would decide, you know, like there is a lot of light in here, so maybe I don't, you know, I want to have it light and dark so that the petals look more light and dark. You could actually even mock that up a bit. So you could play around if you like the layouts. You could do something like this. See, where you get light, dark, and then you could do one with the greens like this. So you have some control over what you're doing with your 12 petals and going through your fabric. So that is the first thing I always do, is figure out, you know, what kind of fabrics placement I want, what is that sort of final result that I want to have in the table topper. Now the tools are awesome, and I'll tell you a few sort of tips. I went through the video. Oh, my paper's falling. I went through the video, and I'll point out and pop up. I'm going to pop up a few pictures as I go along. So one of the first things that Kimberly suggested is taking each of the petals that you're going to use and to starch them so they're a little bit firmer. And if you like doing that, or if you've never done it and you want to try it for this, it works great because the ruler, you know, there's extra around it. So if there's a little bit of shrinkage, it's not going to affect you at all. You know, so it can handle that little bit of shrinkage. Now the ruler is pretty awesome. When I taught this and did them, you know, 25 years ago, I had to have a template on paper, and then people had to cut the paper out and trace it onto cardboard, because if you're cutting out 12 of those, you want them to be consistent. That is a key into assembling this, is consistency. Consistency of your cut, consistency of your seam allowance. Otherwise, the piece won't lay flat. And Kimberly has done a fabulous job walking you through that part of it in her video. So you want to be sure you watch that. So I love the ruler. I love the ruler. If you're going to make a lot of these, I mean, and if you have a template, you sometimes, you know, with this cardboard, you cut the edges. It's like no good. Okay. Now she also will go through with the fusible batting and how that works. This one is by Quilter's Dream. One side, when you open it, you'll feel one side has a little bit of a nubby edge, you know, this feels different, and that's the fusible side. And so she has some tips on that. I have used fusible fleece, like Pellon fusible fleece, for years. So if you have fusible fleece, that works good too. The fusible disc keeps it super flat. If you don't have fusible, use regular batting. It's just going to be more pliable. You know, it's going to, you know, this, when I hold this up, it is really firm. Between the starching and the fusible, it is firm. It doesn't like drape. Okay, so another thing is, she has a great tip where you lay down to get the, you know, the fusible goes on the backing. You fuse this to the backing. You see it in the video. Then you have to take the front of this, you know, right sides together, and she walks through that whole part and shows you how to get it nice and flat and even and trim it away, which I like that part, trimming it away. You're not sort of trying to line up, you don't cut the backing to look like that top. You trim it away after you sew it. Okay, there's a turning tool. So if you don't own a turning tool yet, this is a great one you can get. It has two sides, a pointy and a round, so it's very versatile. And then the circles. So she has a part in her video to explain how to do the circle. And I would advise, if you've not sewn any circles, there's two things you're going to use. One is, whoops, I'll just hold the bag up. Whoops. Here's the circle templates, which I love for the same reason as the Starburst template, is that it's very consistent, and it is much easier to draw around this, or even with a little rotary cutter, you might even be able to cut around it, than to draw it by hand. You're going to be much more consistent. And then she's using the sew-in interfacing, which looks like this, and I highly recommend when you take this off, they don't have a zip top on here or anything, so put this inside when you're done so you remember what the heck it is. That's always my downfall. It's like, what was that? I don't know what that was. So she shows you how to get that nice and even, and you can see on here, I'll show you a close-up. So that's beautifully done, and that makes it more firm if you're using that, you know, non-sew, this sort of interfacing is firm, and that really helps make this whole piece look really flat and looks really professional. I think it looks like, you know, it's really nicely done. Okay, those are my tips for getting a Dresden, Jolly Bar Dresden done. And I am going to make one, I think I'm going to make at least one with this purple and green, because those are my niece's colors. I might make one from each of these for my nieces and send them out. I don't have a holiday. No, I do. I did get that one holiday. might do a holiday one too. Okay, my friend. I love you. Mwah. See you online.